And welcome back to Funded Founder Fridays. This is episode 7. We'll be talking about customer-driven leadership and how that relates to investment and general narrative of a startup. Welcome again to Funded Founder Fridays, where every Friday we create space for founders to ask the honest questions about building companies, raising capital, leading teams, and navigating the startup journey. I am Roselia Bañuelos, CEO and co-founder of Creatopia Inc., where we're centered on exploring the relationship between safety and creativity. We know that without safety, our brain is not capable of creating original, creative thoughts, and we are all about co-creation and what happens when we're in person co-creating. And my co-host is...
My name is Ben Kegobadi. I am the CEO and co-founder of Red Ruby Capital. And Noble Innovative Solutions and Noble founder, and I'm a part of Something Global. And today we have my good friend Daniel with us.
Hey Ben, hey, great to be here with you guys.
Thanks for being here. So just a little bit about Daniel. He helps people solve complexity quickly. He focuses and multiplies the vision of others, helping them to do more easily for the good of the world. His company is called Business Interrogation, and he's open to being asked questions about that during the Q&A or after in the Hangout. And he has a book that we'll be talking about later. But welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. So Daniel and I got connected with our good friend Scott. Scott is an amazing human being. He's one of the early internet founders, and he has a really good grasp on internet and a startup, and more importantly, he cares about humanity and serving others. So Daniel and I got connected with him, and then now Daniel is my good friend. For a while. I think it's almost a year, right? Yeah. So, Daniel, tell us more about how we got connected. How things going on with you.
Yeah, fantastic. So our mutual friend Scott is one of those visionary founders that just has a huge vision, built a company that solved a unique problem. I won't tell Scott's story, but let's say everybody who meets Scott's blown away by his background. And what was very interesting about my first conversation with Scott was he labeled what I do for companies. As I started to talk to Scott, and we connected originally on kind of a shared faith background, and then as we started to talk about the things that we've done. One of the things that Scott mentioned was, as I started to describe it, he goes, "Oh, you're a bounce head," and just dropped that label on me. And I'm like, I don't know what a bounce head is, but I just
think of a bobblehead.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do is I sort of put together from context what happens in complexity. So I basically reversed engineered and wrote at first I went to LinkedIn and I asked LinkedIn if they knew what a bounce head was, and 41 people answered no, and none answered yes. So you don't get polls like that every day. So I reverse engineered my own definition. I gave it to Scott, and he said, yes, pretty much the best description that I've heard. And in a world where a lot of visionaries, they see further than other people can keep up. And I have the ability to not only reach the point of their vision, but again, as you guys mentioned, focus and multiplying that vision and seeing what's really important, where are the key touch points that are critical. And then I can also look backward to go, okay, there's some things that aren't connected. You don't have the foundational solutions to reach that vision yet, but here's some steps that you would have to go through to reverse engineer your success. Mm-hmm. So I can see kind of to have capability D, you need capability C, and to have that you need B and then A, and so I'm able to kind of pull together loose threads from people who are seeing further than other people and across multiple domains as well. I've worked. If you're sure, you're welcome to interrogate me about my background, but I was an
I mean,
interrogator.
yeah, share as much as you'd like with just the different types of companies and projects or whatever ideas that you've worked with,
Yeah. So
and what that looks like.
Yeah. I'll be respectful of your time. But some of the things that I've done. So I got bored in school, was going to University of Houston here in Houston, and I just got bored, and I enjoyed working more. And so I started running a Little Caesars Pizza, and at some point I realized I'm working so many hours, and within 10 months, I'd been certified as a training manager at like age 21, I think I was at that time. And then the next step up was district manager, and I saw the path there was long and at 60-hour plus weeks, not going to be very fun. So I joined the military to have more time off. And that's not how most people join the military, but it worked out. I asked, what's the hardest thing to qualify for? They said signals intelligence collector. So I said, I'll do that. I had the scores to do it. And I ended up in the 82nd Airborne Division, jumping out of airplanes and doing some interesting things for the military. I had a kid and got divorced, and I wasn't getting to see my kid very much. So I wanted to come back to Texas. And the Army said no. And I said, well, my term is up. So I got out. I went into the Army Reserves. The day I joined my new unit, my signals intelligence position went away. And so they said, do you want to become an interrogator? I said, yes. I went to interrogation school. They handed me my diploma and said, you're really good at this. You should be teaching it. So I became an instructor.
Oh, nice.
And then I ended up in Iraq for the early parts of the 2003 invasion. And I eventually got to interrogate kind of the high value detainees, the people featured on playing cards, including 2 top 10 detainees, pair kings, if you're playing card games, including Saddam Hussein's cousin, Chemical Ali. And I successfully interrogated him for 6 months and got some cool stories out of it, and maybe a letter of recommendation that sits on my back wall, which is unusual for interrogators. I did everything Geneva compliant, building relationships with difficult people is, I guess, one of my skill sets. It's funny when people say, oh, I got this guy, it's so difficult to work with. I'm like, how many hundreds of thousands of people has he killed? And the answer is never one or more. So it's kind of a unique thing. I got to interrogate on weapons of mass destruction as well, which are incredibly complicated, but a lot of banking stuff. And then went on to become a contract interrogation instructor. I quit that job to move to Honduras. I built programs for the military, advanced interrogation and analysis course. And then helped my wife in textile exports, run her business. And we got home invaded, guns at our kids' heads, give us all your stuff. I sort of facilitated the robbing of my family. Like, here, let me help you guys do this without hurting my family. And let me show you where all the valuables are. And that led to me meeting a owner of a physical security company in Honduras. And we became friends. And 6 months later, he said, my company's bleeding money. Do you think you can figure out what's going on? And I said, I don't know. I'll take a look. I went over and saw his company. I was like, you got 435 employees. I think to solve the problem, you'd have to put me in charge. And he's like, you're in charge. And so within 3 months, I'd found $1 million of hidden debt. I made new revenue streams that got us cash positive, at least paying our bills, paid off all the personal debt that the owner had taken on to help the company. And so that was kind of a 90-day turnaround of a failing company. I didn't really know that much about, but it was just kind of fun to puzzle it out. And I've also gone on to do cybersecurity with some major banks, and I break things and make them better. That's sort of the long and short, and scuba instructing to my friend out there. I've done. There's plenty I've left out, but I think happy to answer more if you have more questions.
Talk about a transferable skill.
Yeah, breaking things for good is one of the things that I call it.
Yeah.
You know, I think one of the things that I noticed is when you look at the startups, every startup founder is visionary, right? And like when you say, I am like a
Psychotic
bounce head,
optimism.
right?
Yeah.
So we're just like, yeah, we're gonna make it. It's gonna be the greatest and biggest company. And I think that's more important to understand, like what happens after that big vision, right? How you put it together and how you look at it from a lens of like what's gonna go wrong, what's gonna fail. And I think this is what you have done for a long time. And the story of Honduras company, I think is just an example of it. So how do you help startups? Like if somebody is starting a startup and they have like this big vision, what are the first questions you ask them? What they need to ask themselves?
Yeah. Thanks, Ben. That's a great question. Yeah, so I'd say the first time I did this was sort of accidental as part of a coaching program for entrepreneurs called Strategic Coach, run by Dan Sullivan. And there was a guy there, he was a fintech guy. He'd already had 2 successful exits. He was in his 30s, clearly knew what he was doing. And, coming out of banking, I knew about half of what his company model was, but there were some pieces I was interested in. So one of the things I did was I asked, can I ask you some questions? Can you pitch me your new startup? And so he did, and I asked 5 questions, and my 5th question broke his business model. Like I said, well, what if your customers do this instead of this? And I just saw the pieces fall into place in his head, and he was like, oh, that would be bad. That would be really bad. And so he said, I'm going to fix that, and I want to talk to you again. And so he reached out a month later, and he had designed end to end his entire process. And I just asked him, well, what if this happens, and how would you handle a customer doing this? And just in 2 hours went through his entire process, and he got probably 10 good aha moments out of it, where like I hadn't thought of that, and so sort of helping him pre-think some of the challenges he might have in the way that he built his processes and stuff. So back to your question, if I'm doing kind of what I call a value flow optimization 20 call, which is 20 minutes on what is your biggest business challenge, I start with what is your biggest business challenge? And then the second question I ask is, what is it preventing you from doing? Because a lot of times the problem is actually a symptom of the problem. And so, putting a Band-Aid on a gushing wound doesn't really solve anything. You've got to get to the root of what's really happening here.
Right.
And then the third question I ask is, what is it costing you to not solve it? Because that helps cement in, oh, yeah, this is really costing me and I need to fix it. And then I just drill into kind of what's the ecosystem in which this is happening, sort of a root cause analysis using basic interrogation techniques that I learned from the military.
That's great.
So that's why you call it like business interrogation, right?
Interrogation.
So you're just looking at like interrogating the business to find like where it's gonna fail.
So about how many companies have you worked with, and how has your journey led to writing the books that you have written?
Sure. Fantastic question as well. I have over 40 companies that I've helped with various business interrogation services, including Fortune 500 companies. Probably the biggest like startup type company was 10 million revenue. And then under business interrogation, I also do some cybersecurity work, which is how I get the Fortune 500 kind of box checked. I've actually worked with the C-suite of the Fortune 500 company and had the board of directors kind of observing that. I do cyber exercises, so I design cyber disasters and help leadership teams think through what would we do if we were ransomware or other issues around like that. Most people don't think about those things. Right?
Yeah,
They're always going to happen to somebody else until they
never
don't.
know.
Yeah, until you're on
Especially
news.
if you're in a physical space,
Oh, yeah.
that definitely changes things too.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So the answer is 40-ish, and with various services.
Nice.
So in the book is customer leadership, right? Customer driven leadership, and we had like a lot of conversation about that.
We got a
I
signed
think,
one.
yeah, yeah, and you know, like I think the biggest challenge for many startups, even a lot of people, even like we have people in the room, how to find customers and how to, drive value and capture value. So how do you solve the customer problem in this book?
Yeah. So, well, let me tell you what customer-driven leadership is first. So, my wife and I helped build a nursing school in Central Honduras, and part of the leadership team included Dr. Ted Anders, who helped build the training program for NASA shuttle teams here in Houston. He is no longer live in Texas, but he lives in my second favorite state, Florida. So, and he's an organizational psychologist. And after we finished this 5-year-long nursing school project, building this modern nursing school in Central Honduras, we were looking at what else can we do to help the local. We were working with the Episcopal bishops of Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala, and we said, what can we do? And Ted showed me customer-driven leadership. And as I mentioned, I put pieces together very quickly. As he started explaining it, within 5 minutes, I was like, "Wow, this is genius! The world needs this, Ted. Let's do this." And he goes, "Co-author the second edition of my book." And I said, "Okay." So I did my due diligence, and I was the kind of lead author for this, using a lot of Ted's material, and of course, he was always in the conversation. We do interviews at the end of each chapter where I talk about the key concepts of customer-driven leadership. But it's effectively empower your people with the vision and values of your organization, and let them be partners in the success of the organization. So, and reward them when they successfully do that. So it's incentive-based. As they help you grow your business according to your vision, they get rewarded for that. And why wouldn't you?
Right.
So,
I've yet to start reading it, but it's
yeah, it's
on
very
my
interesting.
list.
It's got sort of
sure.
inverts the hierarchy of the organization. So everybody is evaluated by the people they serve within the organization. So the CEO gets evaluated by everybody, and teams evaluate their leaders and how well they're being supported to be successful. Each team understands kind of, we call them careabouts, what the people further down the value chain. So if you've got the R&D branch goes into production, what does the production team need from R&D to be successful? Those are the careabouts that are connected, and we measure them. They're all hard metrics. It's not the easiest system to set up, but if you get it up and running, it has definitely, in Ted's background, this is before I joined, has created billion-dollar companies. It has, normally I would say it 10x as a company in 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
It's never failed to return ROI of the initial investment in less than 2.
Wow.
And it's not the most inexpensive of programs. So yeah, it's really good, and it'll change your culture as well. Everybody feels empowered to help, right? And this really came out of Ted's, when he trained the shuttle teams, when Challenger exploded, those were his friends. And the people at the bottom knew they shouldn't have launched because the O-rings were out of specifications. But they got overridden by people at the top who knew less.
Dang.
Wow.
You should definitely have
Yeah.
anybody in a customer-driven leadership organization is empowered to put up their hand, pull the emergency stop, and say, hey, this isn't who we are. This isn't where we said we're going. This isn't a policy that honors our promises to our customers. So I think what it does is really helps you. One of the last step of customer-driven leadership is going to your customers and asking, what's the one thing that I can do where if I deliver that for you, you'll never look at another person to do what I do for you.
That's very interesting.
And the answer is different
That's a
for
great
different.
question.
Yeah, for different customers, the answer will be
doing that.
different. So you need to assess what does each customer really care about, and then make sure you're delivering on those things.
Yeah, and that's really just your ongoing market research.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Feedback
you're
loops
just
for everything.
always in your market researching it while you're exploring it at the same time and discovering it Yeah.
The concept of the care about, like, in the storytelling, if you ask, our good friend Kittrick, in the storytelling and in storytelling, like Donna Miller's storytelling framework, is exactly we are the guide and the customer is the hero. So now the customer driven leadership at the layer of what the hero cares about.
Right.
Right. So if I'm a guide and the customer is the hero,
I like that. Yeah.
so now, like, what they really care about, and that's a really interesting concept.
Yeah.
So if I'm like a startup founder, right, how do I apply this to my startup to better understand my customers and to develop like my go-to-market strategy, my my beachhead strategy, my customer acquisition strategy? How to apply it?
Yeah. I would say you start off with the kind of the principles of customer-driven leadership. I had a solopreneur ask me once, well, I'm a solopreneur. How can I do customer-driven leadership? And I was like, well, let's say there's 10 things you need to do within your company that drive its success. At the beginning, guess what? You wear all 10 hats. I mean, that's just how it is, right? But you're going to find, hey, these 5 I'm really good at. And these 5, maybe I'm average, maybe I'm worse than average, right? At these 5. So those should be the positions that you hire for first, right? And so you're bringing on the people that keep you more in the stuff that you're really good at and less in the stuff that you're not so good at. And you literally just hand off those responsibilities care about by care about. And, maybe you find a co-founder that can tackle the other 5 for you. Or maybe you have to hire 5 other people each to handle one of those for you.
Very interesting.
Wow.
Keeps the main thing. Again, it really unlocks asking your team, how could we do better? How can we improve in the things that matter? Again, it's all hard metrics. I interviewed a CEO that was Ted's first customer. He's been running customer-driven leadership for 30 years. He makes more than $1 million of revenue per employee, regardless of role.
Wow.
So
Wow.
janitor,
That's great.
receptionist, engineer, doesn't matter. He's got over 300 employees. They've
Wow,
never,
$200 million.
they've never failed to pay an incentive check. And the teams, they're super innovative. They do things that no other company would consider doing. Like we have to renegotiate, the janitorial service. Well, what if we all just cleaned up this place ourselves? What if I split half of that money with everybody here and I'll clean toilets as the CEO? You can get really creative in what's possible.
Wow. So, let me ask you another question. Just tying this to communicating that complex vision, right? Because one of the things you do really well, you just figure out what is my, complex vision, and you can just, simple it down and communicate that. If I'm a tech founder, specifically, right? And I have this great idea, but I can't really communicate that. It's just really always hard. So what do you do, Ben? I'm just building this platform that has, AI agents, and that the AI agents go and do like the investment for then I go into like a lot of technical things.
Right.
So how do you use this framework and how do you communicate? Like, what is your advice for tech founders, especially to communicate really complex ideas?
Yeah. So interrogation basics: who, what, where, when, why, how. That's what I'd start with, right? Who are you? First of all, what do you do, right? What's the solution that's the most unique that it has? There's a problem, and your solution solves that problem. If you're building something and you haven't identified what problem it solves, you've got a big problem. But then you ask, well, who has that problem? And so then you find out what that ideal client looks like. And then you just sort of, staying focused. One of the other things that, in that digesting complexity, there's visionaries and there's kind of the integrator role, the COO role. And I scored high on both of those things. So one of the things that I can do is I can help communicate if I come into a company where there's a disconnect between this is my vision and this is not what's getting done, is I by stepping in, all of a sudden you've got two visionaries and two integrators and somebody that can translate between the two. When your visionary says this is what he wants you to do, or this is what she's looking for, right? And
We need that.
yeah, and then when you tell your visionary it can't be done, what he's saying is,
Yeah.
I don't have the resources to solve that problem, right? And so those are the types of things that it's like a marriage counselor for
Yeah.
CEOs and
Yeah.
COOs as well, a little bit.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about. So this book,
Yeah, it's a collaboration.
we're giving it away.
Yeah, we can give this book away. It's the second book that I wrote. I have 7 book collaborations, not including customer-driven leadership. Success Secrets of Disruptors was out of a community out of the UK. They were looking to build a community. I'm super community focused. I love building rich communities. That's one of the things that really appealed to me about Ben's vision, is the community that he wanted to build. And so this community was limited to 100 people. The founder interviewed over 5,000 to find the 100 that he wanted, and he was not, talking to people on the streets. That was a really hard filtration system. It was a great community to be part of. I stayed for 2 years, and I talked to over 130 entrepreneurs globally, and they had a couple of books already, and they were looking for their third. I'll take credit for the title of the third book. They were like,
Yay.
it's a series. It's called Success Secrets of, or for. And I said, how about Success Secrets of Disruptors?
Disruption.
Because I'm a disruptor. And
Nice.
I like to, so my chapter in the book is called Let's Get Uncomfortable. And it's all about, where are the areas that you're ignoring that you need to focus some growth on. So.
I think, again, disruptions and startups and community, right?
Yeah.
Things that are core to any ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you feel about disruption itself, right? So getting uncomfortable, what does that mean?
Yeah. So I think one of the things is, if you're not looking for what can disrupt your business, and I would be tracking those things once you identify them, then all that means is you're going to be blindsided by the thing that disrupts you, right?
Yeah.
It's better to be thinking at, what technology could be created that would make my technology obsolete.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on that space, right? Maybe
Right.
invest in that space yourself, so that you've already gotten to a place where, if,
It's covered.
you know,
Yeah.
whatever the next level of AI is, solve some of the pieces of your puzzle, you already have ways to integrate with that AI to improve the thing that you're already doing.
It's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's out there that's in that same vertical as you, that are doing things in different ways than you are, and what can you learn from those, right? One of the interesting things about the CDL initial founder was all of the companies that he competes against are publicly traded, and he keeps an eye on exactly what their numbers are. And he goes, I know we're 4 times better than they are, and my numbers aren't public. But, it's like you're able to keep track of, what are the things that can come in. Pandemics. I was working for a major bank who literally told me I needed to move to another city to be at a core location 6 months, 4 months, 5 months before the pandemic hit.
Wow.
And then everybody was working from home, and that was their problem, was I was working from home. And again, what I was contributing was a high value to the organization. I'll just say that. So they basically said, well, you're not going to follow our policy, so we're willing to lose top talent. So
That's interesting.
it's not a good idea.
And, because community, everything that we believe in Noble Founders, community and ecosystem. When we started this, when I had initial, conversations with Roselia and a lot of people, and Roselia is leading the Houston chapter. And her vision is on co-creation, creating this, safe environment, solving local problems, solving real problems, right? And I think like with you and I, and even with Scott and the something global and something greater community, that's the same theme, serving people and solving bigger problem. And I know like the first time I talked, to Rosalia, I was like, what problems can we solve? And one thing just we had the conversation is about like human trafficking, solving the housing problem. And I know you have a really you're really big on those initiatives as well. So how do you see a community coming together can really tackle these big problems? And I think Rosalia can elaborate more on how Houston is a hub for many of those things.
Yeah, I'm sure you know as well. I mean, yeah, when I got my master's in social work, I went down a rabbit hole of human trafficking and saw some UN reports that just not everybody has to read everything, but if you are curious, I'm a mother. So as a mama bear, I had to learn everything about it, and how complex it is, right? And essentially, Creatopia started because of that rabbit hole that I went down. Because I saw how technology is not necessarily improving our brain development and how that is making teens more susceptible to things like human trafficking.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think one of the things that I say that really disrupts people's thinking is I think it's safe to have your kids sleeping with a loaded gun in their room than a cell phone or a laptop.
Yeah.
Or a tablet or anything like that, because the predators are out there. One of my abilities is to be able to think like a bad guy. So I know how people are targeted. It happens so much, and until it touches you personally, in the home invasion, these guys were threatening to take my daughter. And, my wife was the superhero because I was at that point already tied up. But, she wrapped herself around our daughter and said, "Over my dead body," which is an offer they could have taken her up on. So you never know. Living in a place like Honduras, one of the most violent cities in the world, San Pedro Sula, you got to hear stories firsthand of trafficking. Even before working with the physical security company, there's just nightmare scenarios, and you never. It's like being hacked. You don't think it's going to happen to you, and then all of a sudden, the unthinkable happens, and that's too late to help prepare your kids from the dangers. Right? You gotta educate them.
And that knowing things like that, like at least for me, right? Like once I know something, it's very hard for me to not do anything about it and to just be like, that's just happening, like that's definitely something that wakes me up, like something that on the hard days that, right, on the hard days that I'm like, should I just give up? Is anything even worth it? It's the thing that's like, yes, that's a lot of our why and a lot of why we want to make these spaces and why we want to create the technology to be able to see what happens when we come together and co-create. Because I do think that can heal our brains. I think that can be very helpful for a lot of different things that we're seeing with technology. And yeah, our youth matter and our future matters and our water matters, right?
I completely agree. And I love that. I went down the human trafficking side, but really collaboration is what I think is the thing that solves so many of these problems. And Ben, from even our earliest conversations, I was like, if you're going to build this community, build it so that it's easy to work with people, where we can come in and help each other in that season where it makes sense, and not sign all these agreements that lock you in legal chains with each other. Just look like, hey, you have a capability I'm interested in. Maybe it's even, sort of going back to bartering system, right? I have a technology solution that I think could really help you. If you help me, I help you, and we both win together. I mean, those are the types of things I want always to be in collaborations with people, not partnerships, not stuff. Because again, you know, they could take a turn, and then I don't want to detangle myself. It's like a divorce, right?
Right.
If you have a partnership, it's you know,
Mm-hmm.
to break that off can take lawyers and lawsuits and stuff like that. Just work with each other while it makes sense. And
You know, collaborate. Right?
Collaborate,
I think
100%.
that's and I think that's the key word.
Yeah.
And you know, contribute.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
and, you know, I think there, like, a lot of people, they just question, you know, why you guys are doing it. Like, you know, what is behind it? What is in
What
it
do you
for
get
you,
for-
right?
That's right.
To me, innovation comes from creation. Creation comes from collaboration, right?
Yeah.
So when we work together, I have this flywheel, you know. So when we as a community come together, we help each other, we contribute. People with money, they contribute financially. People with intellect, they contribute with, you know, IP and intellectual property. People with resources, people with talent, we all contribute, and we all rise together, right? Everything will elevate. We lift the economy, we lift the community, and then the same communities invest in this in new ideas, new businesses, and we all become successful. And that's how you build new stuff, right? When we are building this community, when we are building this ecosystem, the goal is come together, collaborate, and that's how it becomes really attractive to investors, attractive to people with money and resources, and they come and support it.
And it's all Houston
And
centered.
all Houston centered, right?
By Houston for Houston.
And so let me tell you a story. Like,
Selling Houston
there is a
problems.
company. He's building an operating system for cars. An entrepreneur. He was in Houston. He was working on his idea. He didn't get the support in Houston. He went to Austin. He didn't get support in Austin. Now he's in San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
And this is a real story. This is a true story.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when they ask, like, what is in there for you? Collaboration, creating greater, innovative ideas, and also, if you're building a fund, if you're building financial support, we need to build a very strong ecosystem that supports that financial decisions. Like, investors who invest in funds, they wanted to see you have really great companies, and you have great people that they are worth investing. And you know, so now, talking about investors, how do you feel about customer leadership and disruption from an investor? Like, let's just turn the, you know, table.
So first of all, I love the whole theory behind the ecosystem, because again, you're building a community, right? And it's communities of trust break down barriers and make things possible that aren't possible without it. In fact, the fourth book collaboration I had was called, my chapter in Voices for Leadership Volume 2 is called Community Leadership for the Good of the World. And it's really about, where do you see there being a need within your community, and then step up, fill that need. I think that summarizes what you guys are building here extremely well. Not every startup is going to have the capital to move multiple times and keep their dream alive before they find somebody
Right.
who will get them funding. The other thing I think is, there's a lot of let's say predatory investors out there that will try to steal their dream, and you got to keep the sharks out of your waters, right? And so I really love how that all comes together in a strong, psychologically safe community. You look out for each other, right? You can say, hey, I tried to do business with this guy. He took my money and took 3 times as long to deliver. That kind of.
Yeah, right. You create that safety, right?
That's right.
You would create the safety for people to be able to be vulnerable, and that's the importance of space, the importance of really building the community and the trust, so that people can say the things that are happening. Because I feel like there's a lot of shame in admitting things like that happen, and from just like a psychological and like social psychological perspective. it's interesting to witness what happens when a lot of people come together and just the things that naturally arise. So yeah, definitely something to think about.
Yeah, it's hard. There, within a community once, there was a question asked, how many of you have filed for bank, have gone bankrupt? And I was like one of the two hands in a room of, more than a dozen people that didn't have their hand up. Not that I couldn't have, maybe a couple of times, but it's tough. And as you're building stuff, when the cash flow stops, it gets, you need some place to go to talk to. And guess what? If the money relationships aren't already developed, you're not going to find that money in time. So that's another reason why building this is super helpful, because you'll be able to help the people in the time of need. You'll already have the trust in what they're building and be able to find the right path to help them and to grow and succeed together. One of the things about business interrogation that I probably have never said publicly is I charge for the value of the service that I provide to the person, and they decide how big a check to write. So if you end up talking to me and no value is gained, I don't expect to get paid. So I only want to get paid when I help you solve a problem.
Well, interesting.
I just have one more question before we go to our studio audience. So get ready, studio audience. But what kind of patterns have you seen after working with all these companies? What are like the biggest challenges, I guess, that they go through, or things that you're like constantly being like, you need to fix this?
Yeah. Well, and again, not to, overly promote Ben, but one of the things that I love about Ben is he's thinking about, what chapter of your journey are you on, and kind of being able to snapshot that so that you're not getting the wrong amount of funding at the wrong time. Because obviously if your company's not worth much and you take a bunch of money, you're going to lose a ton of money. And so knowing where you are and having that ecosystem structured, I think the people who aren't in communities, they don't have that awareness. So I've talked to founders that say, I'm ready to 10x my company, and then you go in and they don't have any systems in place. And I'm like, if you 2x your company, you're out of business, because you won't be able to handle the things. There's ceilings of complexity, is what Dan Sullivan would call it. But the thing that got you here won't get you any further. And you need to see, do I need to hire a sales team now? Do I need to start thinking about marketing? Do I have my message right? Because once you turn on the sales at a level that you're not ready to go into, you could then start jeopardizing your relationships with the long-term clients that you rely on to keep your bills paid. So you really need to do the pre-work. Everybody's trying to sell you what they sell you. But you're not ready for everything at all the time. And if you buy a solution that unclogs one pipe without looking at the whole system end to end, you're likely to trip over something pretty important. So
Stay high level.
yeah, and build with intention, right? If you're ready to go from this level to this level, talk to somebody who's already made that journey. Again, you have the ecosystem where you can say, how did you solve for, not having a sales team? And then, I'm not a fan of pay me $10,000 a month and I'll put some ads on, some websites. Well, you have no investment in my success. Why don't you do what you do, and I'll pay you for every customer you bring me, right? I mean, that's where we're now collaborating. We're winning together. If you're as good as you say you are, bring me some customers, right? And then we'll drive them together, So
And in the ecosystem model,
works.
it's kind of like a value exchange, right? You exchange value and you collaborate with others. Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, and know at what point to reward the people who are at some point you can't pay, and maybe the community is helping you, but eventually when you solve your cash flow issue, start paying them for
No,
what
absolutely.
they're doing
And
too.
why not to pay people in the community? Like a lot of people are saying, what is the value of the ecosystem? To me, we're just like, look, let's say somebody is in Series A, somebody just raised money. What we're asking is, can you hire the startups in our ecosystem first so they get some value? Can you work with our partners that they really work really hard to get us here? So the money stays in the community and it helps everybody.
Yeah.
It just kinda like-
Basically, do you want to be part of our flywheel?
Yeah.
right.
Well, and again, what's great about that is if I work with somebody in the community, and let's say I get 20% less value than I would have if I had worked with somebody that I know has already got that solved. Well, I can go to them and say, hey, this is where it didn't work for me. Can you help improve that? That's really that customer driven leadership part where you can proactively say, hey, I really wish your service had done this instead of this. And so you're helping them fix their flywheel as well as, keeping it in the community.
All good things. This is so exciting. Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah. Thanks.
Do we have questions from? Wait, how are we going to give this away? I was thinking of just
The best question? I'm an interrogator. I taught interrogation.
no pressure.
No pressure. Who's going to ask me the best question?
Somebody, Roland. Well, yeah, come up to the purple circle, and then grab the mic.
We should shine a bright light in his eye too. Just to be fair. We've got
Okay,
bright lights.
you get to
Okay.
give it.
Great talk. My question is,
Wait, tell us who you are and how you
Roland
found.
Fru.
Thank you.
Yeah. My question to you is, what are your top 3 incentive check for a customer-driven leadership company?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. So as we go in, I'd say the first step is sort of to understand, there are, it's a business operating system, an organizational operating system. And there are organizational operating systems out there that are very good, but it's very much, this is the framework. Squeeze your company into our framework and our operating system will run your company. CDL, customer driven leadership, works the opposite. We go in there and see how do all of the departments within your organization interconnect with each other. And then let's say my team serves Ben's team, I'll go to Ben and go, what's the one thing that we can do to help you deliver to the customer better, right? Maybe on production, and maybe there's a lot of customer complaints on technology not working. So maybe it's, I need to QC my products better. I need to test them and make sure that they're actually working before I hand them off to shipping, right? And then how do you determine how much is really also super entrepreneurial? I had a company once that one of the things that they had, a challenge that they had in COVID was they had racked up a couple of $100,000 in debt. So what we did is when we designed the incentive program, we said, hey, look, this is how it's going to work. But for the health of the company, we need to pay down this debt that we have. It doesn't need to maybe be zero, but it needs to be way less than the, couple $100,000 it is now. So what we're going to do is half of the incentive money is going to the debt, and then the other half will go to the employees. And then once the debt gets down to this level we all agree on ahead of time, now you get twice as much in incentive checks.
Follow up, how do you, what I was trying to really get at is, how does that trickle down to hold good people in your company?
Yeah.
That incentive check
Yeah. So again, I'll go back to that conversation. I interviewed this CEO who works 16 hours a day, at least 6 days a week. And he works that way because he wants to work that way. He's like a mad scientist in the lab of his dreams. When he said at one point that he had a 20-year period where he, with 300 employees, at least at the end of that 20 years, where he only had 5 people quit to go work someplace else.
Wow.
So if you tell me anybody else that's doing better than that, I would absolutely be interrogating the heck out of their processes. But just, he said, people will die here, they will retire from here, but nobody wants to work anywhere else. So it rewards them when they have a great idea that helps make the company improve. That's an additional incentive check. So you're really you're unlocking all the creative genius of your entire company to help you build a better company. And, in corporations, if you have a great idea, they're just going to patent it and keep it. They're not going to, they'll give you $100 thank you, way to go, you're amazing, and your name gets to be on the patent, but that's it, right?
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you have another question?
What you just said seems like radical employee ownership, right? So, well, how do you balance that in a world when you're going after venture capital and your investors want to hold on to more value, and you're trying to build a company where the ownership is shared more broadly with the employees from an incentive standpoint? How do you balance that?
Yeah, good question. Definitely had some conversations with some employee-owned companies, mostly in the UK. But one of the challenges is like, okay, how do we share the wealth of it? And I think the CDL formula is a good way to give back to the employees for the work that they do. It's certainly, if you're kind of somebody who wants to build their company up and then sell it, the odds that the next company is going to keep CDL in place, it's possible. I would definitely negotiate for that because that's what got them noticed in the first place, the numbers that CDL is going to generate. So do what you can to keep the ecosystem. I'd say be honest with the people. I'd say if your goal in a CDL driven company is to sell it, I would definitely find a way to share equity with the employees so that when it's sold, they also win. Right?
And, like the option pools and a lot of different things. And a lot of time you are the successful company and VCs are noticing you because of your employees and all the programs that you have. So if you're just giving them up to get a VC, that VC is not the right partner for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
And yes, and the same thing with getting acquired, right? When you get bought out, if you're selling it to like a multinational corporation, what are they going to do? They're just going to steal your customers and your IP and liquidate your workforce, right? That's so be intentional, be honest about that mission. If part of the mission is eventually to exit, I'd be honest with your employees, and again include that. And again, incentives can be a lot of different things in a lot of different. Let's say you're a nonprofit and you're running customer-driven leadership. Maybe it's coaching and mentoring with the senior leadership opportunities, right? Where maybe a cash check for doing their service isn't an appropriate or an appreciated. You've got to give them something that's meaningful to them, right? If I'm in a company or a nonprofit, and my goal is to help stop human trafficking, the odds that an extra check are going to make me excited about working for you is pretty slim, probably.
Right.
So give them something that they care about.
Right.
Ironically,
That's great.
always comes back to care about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great. We're going to need a book club to read this customer-driven leadership book. So if anybody wants to join me for a book club, let me know.
Hey, and happy to lead a mastermind around that. If
that'd be great.
the community wants, I can get you some books at cost. If people want to get in, just build it, and I will come.
Yeah, this is exactly where we're at. Just thinking in terms of growth and how we bring on people, right? And how you really, it's all about your culture and how you're keeping people around and growing. If people aren't invested, then you're not going to grow. If you don't have people's attention, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're not going to
I can tell you another good question to ask when I'm evaluating a a company is who is irreplaceable? Who when they leave kills your entire company? A lot of times it's the tech people who are building the technology. Make sure you increase the stickiness with those relationships. Treat those people well and make them, create a lot of things. Mistakes. I think people give equity too fast. They should have equity that builds over time and accomplishments, milestones.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the book goes to
Yes. Wait, do we have time for one more question? We have time for one more
One more
question.
Is there one more question out there?
Success secrets of disruptors
Here we
is
go.
what we're asking questions for.
Hey everyone. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Hey everyone, I'm Shaka. This goes into, you don't have to adjust the camera height because of me.
No, yeah, we do because it
No, it's
chops
not
off your head.
yeah.
That's literally his job.
This goes to the question of like community incentives in building, right? So within Houston, right? We're gonna just go ahead and center this in Houston because we're in Houston. How do you get past kind of like I would phrase it as like the big fish fallacy, where you probably already kind of get where I'm going with it.
Yeah. Yeah. But finish your question.
Okay. Where you're more inclined to work with another individual because they're the biggest, hottest, brightest star in the area.
Yeah, good friend of mine, is Dr. Don Barden, has a book that really talks about the levels of sales, right? So there's three kind of a pyramid of what people are interested in when they're buying. The bottom level, let's call them Walmart shoppers. They only care about the price. They want to buy the cheapest thing possible. That's what they're gonna invest in. You can undercut the big names by charging less. So that is an option. The middle brand, the people who, let's say, go to Target and maybe buy name brand clothing, polos and things like that, they care about safety and being in, right? They're going to go with the brand because, again, what's the phrase? Nobody gets fired for hiring IBM, right? It's job security. So those are the people, they're never going to hire you in that case. They're going to be too risk adverse to take a chance on you. But the third level is the ROI people. And if you can show that you will give them a better return on their investment and you can get to them, right? That's how being part of a community that can open some doors for you and can get you at those ROI people. They're the people that their time is worth so much money. They're going to have the tailor come to them to take their measurements and get the suit delivered wherever it needs to be, rather than, because they don't have time to mess around. And so you got to be really crisp in your message, and your value proposition has to be crystal clear. So one of the jobs that I do is cyber exercises, and I have seen what all of the big companies do, and I know that I'm better than anybody that they have. And they'll get charged. They can charge $100,000 to deliver a cookie cutter solution that they're going to do as little work as possible to customize it for the customer, but they're still going to get most of the corporate work because people aren't going to take a chance unless, again, they know me and then they've seen the exercises that I do. Then they would never go with those people again unless they were going to get fired if it went badly and they didn't have that total faith in my ability to deliver what their stakeholders want. So
Well,
hopefully that was helpful.
I think so. Thank you, Shaka.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think we're right at 1. And we do want to hang out with our studio audience after. So thank you, everybody that's here in person.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be
Appreciate it.
here a little bit after, hanging out with Daniel and asking him more questions and interrogating
do.
the interrogator.
Please do. Ever since I stopped being an interrogation instructor, people don't ask me enough questions.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for being here.
A pleasure.
This was
I had a
great.
blast. Thank you. For
Yeah.
I
having me.
learned a
Thank
lot.
you. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you to 801 Travis and the Innovation Hub and Iron Grove. And anybody that tuned in online. And anybody that's here in person, come back next Friday as we continue building our ecosystem together, one conversation at a time. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.